One of the most common questions I get asked on this channel, ever since I've had this channel, is how do you deal with ticks? Spending all this time working and being out in the woods, how do you keep those horrible, hateful, blood-sucking, Lyme disease transmitting, miserable things from eating you alive? I never made a tick video because I always felt like I don't have anything new I can add to the tick conversation. Nothing that hasn't already been said a billion times. But after experiencing the last few weeks what may be by far the worst tick season I have ever had here, I'm thinking maybe I do have something to add, because I very rarely get bit by ticks. I'm not going to give you some hack, some secret method. You have to be careful when you hear people using that kind of language. A lot of times they're just trying to get views, or they're trying to sell you something. I know because I've used those techniques a time or two or three to get views, and they work. Instead of trying to give you some secret hack, I'm going to tell you about something that's more boring. But sometimes the boring techniques can be more effective than the super secret turbo technique that somebody's trying to sell you. As I climb over this log, prepare yourself for some major boring. Are you ready yet? Well, here it goes. A lot of it just comes down to awareness. See, I told you it was going to be bad. When out in the wild, or really anywhere, instead of just wandering about cluelessly, not being aware of your surroundings, not being aware of what's going on around you in your environment, not being aware what's going on with your own body, have some awareness. Heard a noise over there. It was just a cone falling out of a tree over there. Whenever you hear something falling out of a tree, make sure it's not above you, something that could fall down, hit you in the head. You never know what could fall out of a tree. Could be a branch, could be a monkey, you never know. But whenever I'm in the outdoors, I'm always aware there are these little blood-sucking parasites that want nothing more than to attach to me or some animal. I am aware of my place out here. For some things in nature, I serve no other purpose than being a source of food. I know how this relationship works. Now I'm getting into a brushy area. I don't want to go through a brushy area. Sometimes there can be ticks in brushy areas, but mostly I just don't want to go through a brushy area because they're brushy. So I'm going to go this way. If you know what kind of habitat ticks are more likely to be in your area, that can help you avoid them. If you avoid areas of a lot of vegetation, take the more clear paths or even follow well-defined paths, that can help out. But if you're out working in the woods and you have to be everywhere, that doesn't help you much. One of my biggest lines of defense against ticks is not just being aware of what's going on around me, but being aware of what's going on right here. When I was young, I got a lot more ticks back then, but over the years, I have learned what a tick crawling on me feels like. Come on, focus. This has been a horrible year for ticks here. Never seen the like. If you get it stuck between one nail and another, you can smash them. Blech. Now I have tick goo on me, but I think we all know what it feels like when a bug's crawling on us. Ticks have this signature feeling where I can tell that's a tick most of the time. It's just now starting to sink in. I don't think I could have timed that any better if I tried. I was just talking about how I can typically feel ticks when they're crawling on me, and I felt that tick crawling on me. Should I even leave this part in? People are probably going to think I faked that, it was so good. But I don't know if I could fake that any better than what actually happened. Well, maybe I could. Looking back, I'm not sure if I saw that one first or if I felt it first. It all happened about the same time, and I was a little distracted yakking at the camera. But either way, I was aware, and I got it. That tick is no longer with us. Which reminds me of my second line of defense when it comes to ticks. And that is, I look for them. Just before that, I saw a tick right here crawling on my pants. First, what caught my attention was this little black spot, which ended up being just a little black spot, but below that was a tick crawling. I didn't get that on camera because my first thought was, I can use that tick to make a thumbnail for this video. But it didn't cooperate. It wouldn't make the nice pose I wanted for the camera. Because I was aware, I was able to catch both of those ticks and eliminate them from the living before they even got a chance to bite me, which is typically the way it goes between me and ticks. One of the things they say, they sure do say a lot of things, but sometimes those things are good. When you're out in tick country, wear light colored clothing so you can more easily see the ticks. I don't know if blue jeans count as light colored clothing. These ones are a little faded. I can usually see ticks on them, but this is probably not what they mean by light colored clothing. And this up here, probably not either. Probably definitely not. As bad as the ticks are here this year, maybe I should start thinking about lighter colored clothing. If they continue to be this bad, maybe chemicals. Normally, I don't have to worry about ticks much here because there just aren't that many ticks here. But this year, I have never seen it like this. It is just ridiculous. Normally, I might find 1 or 2, maybe 3 ticks crawling on me per year here at this property, which is where I spend a lot of my time. That's per year. But this year, it's multiple ticks per day, just about every day. I've never experienced that here. I've experienced that in other places, but not here. Why do we have so many ticks this year? Maybe because we didn't do winter here this year. In the fall, we went into fall. Then in December, we gave winter a miss, went straight into spring. Instead of being cool and wet like it normally is in the winter, it was dryish and warm much of the winter. Maybe the ticks responded positively to that. Responded very positively. Normally when I'm out in the woods, I am aware of ticks because I know they are a threat. They are disease carriers, and I just don't like them. But this year, knowing the way the ticks are, instead of being normal aware, I'm hyper aware. If I'm in another area where I know ticks are common, instead of being normal aware, I'll be hyper aware. I'll be paying attention to what's going on with my skin. Do I feel anything crawling on me? Right now I can feel all my skin. I don't feel anything crawling on me, but I'm prepared to feel anything that is on me. I think a lot of times we go through life, we're so up in our heads, sometimes we almost forget we even have a body. We're thinking about this over here, we're thinking about that over there, we got an earworm going on over here, we got who knows what going on over here. We're not paying attention. We're not aware. We're just up in our heads. Not to get weird or anything. I guess that was a little bit weird. As I'm going through the brush here, it doesn't take much effort to just take a quick look. I don't see any ticks. In conditions like this, I might stop and take a quick look once in a while. Of course, there will be a lot of places I won't be able to see, but might as well take advantage of the places I can. Know that I won't be able to see the ones back there, so be extra vigilant. No. Vigilant. There we go. Be extra vigilant of, just know they might be coming in from a sneak attack from behind. This is not about being paranoid or fearful or getting crazy about all this. It's more of a calm awareness, knowing where I stand out here, knowing how I relate to the organisms out here. I just know there are a few small organisms that could do me harm. I just need to act accordingly. It's the same way I keep myself from getting into trouble with rattlesnakes, yellow jacket nests. Just be aware and act accordingly. Just like that. The top of this tree broke out and got hung up in the limbs, pointing down at the ground like a spear. Someday, that's going to deteriorate to where it can no longer hold itself up there. It's going to come down like a spear and land right about there. You don't want to be standing there when it happens. I don't need to be fearful of that. I just need to be aware of it and act accordingly. If we were walking through here all caught up in our heads or in our phones, we'd probably walk right under that, not even notice it. Back when I used to occasionally get tick bites, whenever I would find one embedded, I would think, I remember feeling something, but I thought it was nothing. I just ignored it. After a few times of that, after taking on my no exceptions policy of always check when I feel something funny going on, it's been very effective. Checking doesn't just mean giving yourself a little scratch through your clothing. Checking means actually getting to your skin, feeling your skin in the place where you felt that. Better yet, taking the clothing off, getting a look at it. Ticks can be very thin, especially the really small ones. It can be hard to feel them sometimes, especially if you have a lot of hair in the area, even body hair. It's best if you can get eyes on them. It's important to be aware when you're out with the ticks, but also important to continue being aware after you leave. When you go home, you may not have ticks on your skin, but they may be in your clothing. What do you do with your clothing when you get home? My recommendation, don't put them on the bed, don't put them near your bed, or preferably not even in the bedroom. They can climb off your clothes, get into your bedding, then they get you while you're sleeping. Now that may be playing dirty, but I wouldn't put it past ticks to play dirty. They are not above that at all. And when you get into your vehicle driving home, keep in mind ticks that might be in your clothing could crawl off, get into your vehicle. Some other time when you get into your vehicle, you might not even be thinking about ticks because you're not out in the woods, you're not out in the wild. But now you have ticks in your vehicle that could get onto you. So don't let your guard down just because you're no longer in tick country. When you get home or wherever you're going, get your clothing in a safe place. Give yourself a good going over. Check all your nooks, crannies, parts, pieces, places, and areas that you have. Good place to do that is in the shower. Really get into your hair, feel around all over. That can be a good place for them to get in there, and it's sometimes hard to find them. Good opportunity to give yourself a scalp massage and feel for any lumps, bumps, or things that aren't supposed to be there. If you have someone in your life where you have the type of relationship where they can help you out, not only can that be effective, it can also lead to other benefits. If enough of that happens, you might end up with some children. When you first get home, think twice about giving your little kid a hug until after you take care of your tick situation. Think twice before you sit down or put your clothes anywhere where your kids might be playing, where your baby might be crawling. We have to think about these things. It's not just about us, it's also about the people around us. After you take care of your tick situation, then you can give them hugs. Maybe give them 2 hugs to make up for the one they missed when you first got home. While you're out camping, are you bringing your tick-infested clothing into your tent or other camping facility where they will be in close quarters with you all night while you're sleeping? It's all part of being aware. What I've been talking about has worked well for me, but it might not work well for a lot of people. A lot of people have not had the experience feeling ticks crawling on them to know what a tick feels like. I'm also in a location where Lyme disease is rare. It's very common in the northeast part of the US, but here on the West Coast, it's just not as common. It happens, people do get it out here, but in this area especially, it's just not that common. If I was in an area where it was more common, I might take more precautions. Maybe I would use chemicals. Maybe I would duct tape my pants around my socks and all that kind of stuff they say to do. Act accordingly to the environment you're in. I think it's slowly becoming more common on the West Coast. Maybe it will get to a point where I will adjust my strategy. I am accepting the risks for approaching the situation the way I am here, but before deciding for yourself, it's best to listen to the real experts, not just some guy on YouTube. I'm not just saying this as a disclaimer. I think a lot of what I've been talking about here is not enough to be a full strategy for a lot of people, but some of these things could be used along with a full strategy. A strategy you can get by also listening to the local experts who can tell you what to do specifically in your area, especially if you're in an area that is where Lyme disease or other tick-borne diseases are common. One really quick story before I bugger off. Years ago, we were dog sitting. My mom was out of town, so we were taking care of her dog, Gus. One day, his back legs quit working. All he could do was pull himself around with his front legs, or we would lift up his back end, steer him around where he needed to go. We weren't sure what to do. Should we take him to the vet? He's getting really old. We were afraid this may be the end of poor Gus. The front half of the dog was working just fine, but the back half of the dog just quit working. The next day there was no improvement. Still, the back half of the dog was not working, but I found a tick on him that swelled up to a huge size. I can't remember where it was on him. I pulled the tick out. Within a surprisingly short amount of time, he started moving his back legs a little bit. Within a short amount of time, the back half of the dog started working just as well as the front half was. By the end of the day, he was back to himself. I looked it up. Apparently, tick paralysis can be a thing with dogs. When it comes to ticks, don't forget about your pets. We got to keep them safe too. I think that's all I have. I'll put a video up here. That one's even worse than this one. It's how we keep mosquitoes away from us. I have to warn you though, that one is much worse than this one. I'm still surprised how many views that one got.